Something feels different in the air right now. You can hear it in conversations at grocery stores, in coffee shops, at dinner tables, and all across social media. People are talking again. Families are paying attention again. And for the first time in a long time, millions of Americans are hearing a word that instantly grabs their hearts: checks, real money, possible relief, a chance to finally catch their breath after months and months of financial pressure. It started with one massive headline connected to Trump's tariff plan, and suddenly the entire country began asking the same question. Could Americans actually get money back? Could families who struggled through rising prices finally see something returned to them? And the moment that idea hit people's minds, hope started spreading fast. Because let's be honest, people are exhausted. Every trip to the store feels heavier than it used to. Families walk through aisles, adding numbers in their heads before they even reach the checkout line. Parents are sacrificing things quietly so their kids never notice the stress. Retirees are stretching every dollar. Workers are putting in long hours and still wondering why life keeps getting harder instead of easier. So when people hear the possibility of checks going out, it does something emotional. It wakes people up. Suddenly, there's excitement again. Suddenly, people are paying attention to politics, policies, and headlines they normally ignore because now it feels personal. Now it feels connected directly to their wallets, their homes, and their futures. And for many Americans, it's not even about getting rich. It's about finally feeling seen, feeling like someone understands how hard things have become. Even the idea of a little extra money creates a spark inside families who've been carrying stress for far too long. A check could mean catching up on bills, fixing the car, buying groceries without panic, sleeping one night without worrying about overdraft fees or unpaid balances. That's why this conversation is exploding across the country. Because in difficult times, even the smallest sign of relief can feel like a light breaking through very dark clouds. But then something surprising started happening. The deeper people looked into Trump's tariff plan, the more confused they became. For years, Americans were told that foreign countries were paying these tariffs. China would pay, other nations would pay, America would come out stronger and richer. That was the message repeated again and again. And many people believed it because they wanted to believe the country was finally gaining an advantage. But now families across America are beginning to ask a very different question. If foreign countries were paying all this money, then why did prices rise so much here at home? Why did everyday Americans suddenly feel pressure every time they went shopping? Why did simple things start costing more and more? That's when reality started hitting people hard. Many Americans are now realizing tariffs are basically taxes added onto imported goods, and businesses usually pass those costs down to regular consumers. That means ordinary people may have been paying the price all along without fully understanding it. Not giant governments overseas, not powerful world leaders, everyday workers, parents, retirees, small business owners, the people already trying to survive in a difficult economy. And when that realization sinks in, emotions start changing fast. Excitement turns into frustration. Hope mixes with anger. Families begin wondering how long they've been carrying this burden without even knowing it. They think about the rising cost of electronics, appliances, clothing, toys, tools, and basic household items. Little by little, dollar by dollar, the pressure kept building. Still, what makes Americans strong is that they never stop searching for answers. Even in confusion, people keep pushing forward. They keep trying to understand what's happening around them because their future depends on it. Parents want truth, workers want honesty, retirees want security, and millions of families simply want to know whether the sacrifices they've been making were actually helping the country or quietly draining their own wallets. That's why this moment feels so emotional for so many people, because it's not just about politics anymore, it's about trust. It's about realizing how deeply economic decisions touch everyday lives, often in ways families don't notice until the pressure becomes impossible to ignore. For millions of American families, the pain didn't arrive all at once. It came slowly, quietly. One extra dollar here, a higher bill there, a grocery trip that suddenly cost more than expected. At first, people tried to ignore it. They told themselves prices would go back down soon. They believed things would stabilize. But month after month, the pressure kept building, and families everywhere started feeling trapped inside an economy that no longer felt affordable. Parents began making silent sacrifices their children would never see. Some stopped buying things for themselves completely. Others delayed fixing cars, postponed medical appointments, or skipped simple pleasures they once enjoyed without even thinking. Retirees who spent decades working hard started watching every penny with fear in their hearts, wondering how far their savings could really stretch. Workers put in longer hours, picked up second jobs, and still felt like they were falling behind. And through all of this, prices kept rising. That's what makes this conversation around tariffs so emotional for so many people, because Americans are beginning to connect the dots. They're realizing that economic policies don't just stay inside government buildings or political speeches. They show up at kitchen tables, they show up in family budgets, they show up in the stress people carry every single day while trying to survive. For many families, it feels unfair. They look around and see giant corporations still making profits while ordinary people struggle just to keep food on the table. They hear billion-dollar numbers on the news while they're sitting at home calculating whether they can afford another week of groceries. That frustration is real, and it's growing stronger because people feel like they've been carrying the burden while others stayed protected. But even during hard times, Americans continue fighting forward. That's the incredible thing about everyday people. They don't quit easily. Families keep supporting each other. Communities keep helping neighbors. Workers keep waking up early and pushing through exhaustion because they still believe better days can come. And now, with talks of possible refunds and checks connected to these tariffs, people are holding on to a small but powerful feeling again. The feeling that maybe their struggles are finally being noticed after carrying the weight for so long. As Americans started learning more about where all this tariff money was going, another powerful emotion began rising across the country: frustration, deep frustration. Because while ordinary families were stretching paychecks and cutting back on daily expenses, giant corporations seemed to keep getting richer and richer. And for many people watching all of this unfold, it felt like the system was once again working for the powerful, while everyday workers carried the pressure alone. People started asking difficult questions. If billions of dollars were collected through tariffs, who actually benefits in the end? Will regular Americans finally see relief? Or will massive companies walk away with most of the money while families continue struggling with the same high prices they've been paying for months? That feeling hits hard because so many workers already feel forgotten. They wake up before sunrise, work long, exhausting shifts, and still worry about bills waiting at home. They do everything society asks of them. They work hard, they stay responsible, they sacrifice constantly for their families. Yet somehow, life keeps getting more expensive while giant corporations announce profits that sound impossible to even imagine. And that contrast creates anger inside people. Families see executives flying on private jets while they're choosing between groceries and gas money. They hear about billion-dollar companies fighting for refunds while small towns across America are filled with workers just trying to survive another month. It creates a feeling that the rules are different depending on how much power and money someone has. But this growing frustration is also creating something else: awareness. Americans are paying closer attention than ever before. People are asking smarter questions. They want transparency, they want fairness, they want to understand where money is flowing and why ordinary citizens so often seem to end up at the bottom of the list. And despite all the anger, there's still determination inside the American people. Families continue standing strong because they know their voices matter. Workers know their sacrifices matter. Communities know they deserve to be heard just as much as the corporations sitting in giant boardrooms making billion-dollar decisions. That's why this moment feels bigger than politics for so many Americans. It feels personal. It feels emotional. Because people aren't just fighting for checks or refunds anymore. They're fighting for dignity, fairness, and the belief that hardworking families should not always be the ones paying the highest price. Now, the entire country is sitting in suspense, waiting for answers. Everywhere people go, the same question keeps coming up. Are Americans actually going to receive money back from Trump's tariff plan? Will real checks arrive for ordinary families? Or will this become another promise that disappears before it ever reaches the people who need help the most? That uncertainty is creating a powerful emotional wave across the nation. Some families are excited, others are skeptical, many don't know what to believe anymore. But one thing is clear: people are paying attention because life has become too expensive to ignore any possibility of relief. For struggling workers, even a small check could make a huge difference. It could help cover rent that's overdue. It could keep the lights on for another month. It could help parents buy groceries without feeling panic at the checkout counter. For retirees living on fixed incomes, it could mean a little breathing room after months of watching prices rise higher and higher. And that's why emotions are running so high right now. Families aren't just thinking about money, they're thinking about survival. They're thinking about stability. They're thinking about finally catching a break after carrying so much stress for so long. At the same time, many Americans are nervous because they've seen situations like this before. Big headlines appear, politicians make promises, corporations fight over billions. But when everything settles down, ordinary people often feel left behind. That fear is real, especially for families who already feel exhausted from years of financial pressure and uncertainty. Still, hope continues growing because hope is something Americans refuse to let go of completely. Even after disappointments, people still believe change is possible. They still believe better days can come. That belief keeps families moving forward even during the hardest moments. Across the country, people are refreshing news feeds, watching updates, listening carefully to every new announcement, trying to figure out whether this could finally become one of those rare moments where ordinary Americans actually benefit instead of being forgotten. And as the suspense keeps building, millions of families are holding on to one simple dream: the chance to feel relief again, even if only for a little while. But whenever hope starts spreading across America, something else appears right behind it: scammers looking to take advantage of people during vulnerable moments. It happens every single time money enters the national conversation. The moment families hear words like refund, rebate, or checks, phones start ringing, fake websites start appearing, and dangerous people begin targeting hardworking Americans who are simply trying to hold on to hope. And that makes this moment even more emotional because many families are already under pressure. They're stressed, tired, and desperate for relief. When someone calls promising money, it becomes easy to believe them, especially for elderly Americans living on fixed incomes, retirees struggling with bills, or families who truly need help right now. Scammers understand this. They know people are emotional. They know people want good news. And they use that hope as a weapon. Across the country, fake callers are already preparing their tricks. Someone pretending to be from a shipping company. Someone claiming you qualify for tariff refunds. Someone saying they just need your bank information or a small processing fee before your money can be released. It sounds believable in the moment because people want it to be true so badly. That's why Americans have to stand together and protect each other during times like these. This is about more than avoiding scams. It's about communities watching out for neighbors. It's about younger generations helping older family members stay safe. It's about stopping someone before they hand over their savings to a stranger on the phone pretending to offer help. Imagine an elderly woman standing in a store, nervous and confused, buying gift cards because someone promised her a refund check. Imagine a retired worker believing relief is finally coming, only to lose the little money they had left. These moments happen every day when fear and hope collide together. But Americans are strongest when they unite, when people speak up, when communities protect the vulnerable instead of leaving them alone. A simple warning, a quick conversation, or one caring moment could save someone from losing everything they worked their whole lives to build. And during uncertain times like this, that spirit of looking out for one another becomes just as important as any refund check people may be waiting for. Right now, America feels like a country standing at a crossroads. Families everywhere are trying to understand what comes next. Prices have been high, emotions have been heavy, and people are searching for something solid to hold on to. In moments like this, it becomes easy to feel overwhelmed by politics, headlines, and constant uncertainty. But this moment is also reminding Americans of something powerful. Ordinary people are stronger than they realize. Across the country, workers are waking up before sunrise every single day, still pushing forward no matter how difficult things become. Parents are sacrificing quietly so their children can keep dreaming big dreams. Retirees are stretching every dollar with courage and dignity after spending decades building this nation through hard work and sacrifice. These are the people carrying America forward, even during uncertain times. And now, with conversations growing around Trump's tariff plan and possible checks for Americans, people are realizing how important it is to stay informed and alert, not driven by fear, not controlled by rumors, but educated, aware, and united. Because when families understand what's happening around them, they become harder to manipulate, harder to mislead, stronger together. This is why so many Americans are paying closer attention now than ever before. They're asking questions, they're reading deeper into policies. They want truth instead of empty promises. And that growing awareness is powerful because informed people cannot easily be ignored. At the same time, this moment is showing the importance of community, neighbors helping neighbors, families warning loved ones about scams, people sharing information so nobody gets left behind or taken advantage of during uncertain times. That spirit of unity matters because difficult seasons become easier when people refuse to face them alone. And even with all the frustration, confusion, and financial pressure many families are feeling, hope is still alive inside this country. You can feel it in the determination of workers who refuse to quit. You can feel it in families continuing to fight for better futures. You can feel it in communities refusing to give up on one another. Because at the end of the day, Americans have always found strength during hard moments by standing together, staying alert, and believing that even after struggle, better days can still be ahead.